me your dreams.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another Genshin Impact video, and today I'm just going to be talking about the characters banners for Genshin 4.3. I'm going to just briefly go over these characters and what they do, and you can decide for yourselves who to pull for. By the way, if you haven't liked the video, just leave a like and subscribe. So the first character I'm going to be talking about is the new character Navia, the 5-star Geo Claymore character. Navia will be a quick swap DPS that relies on crystallization, the Geo reaction that everybody has forgotten about. 4.3 will come with a new artifact set that will be best in slot for her, so if you do want to make use out of her full potential, it would be wise to farm for this artifact set. Nobody is going to know her full potential for quite a while unless you have a lot of fragile resin saved up to farm for her artifacts. Keep that in mind when you're thinking about pulling for Navia. Navia's burst can provide Geo off field and it only costs 60. Crystallize isn't a very good reaction, mostly because it doesn't deal any damage to the enemy, and you do have to go out of your way to pick up the shards. However, if you use or if you hold Navia's elemental skill, she can suck up elemental shards from the crystallize reaction. Navia is going to work well with characters that can do off-field things like Zhangling, Fischl, Farina, Xingqiu, Raiden, Yoimiya, any character that could do something off field. She's going to synergize pretty well with them. Compared to other Geo DPS characters, Ito relies on Mono Geo, Ninguang relies on Mono Geo, Noelle relies on Mono Geo. Navia obviously works with crystallization. She will work best outside of Mono Geo. This is because she needs to absorb the crystallized shards in order to buff her damage. Anyways, if you do want a quick swap Geo DPS that works outside of Mono Geo, then Navia will be your girl. Another character that will be running alongside with Navia will be Ayaka, the 5-star cryo sword user. Ayaka is a very great DPS, especially at C0. She is very easy to build since she has access to the cryo resonance. The cryo resonance basically gives her free crit rate. Also, the Blizzard Strayer also gives her more crit rate. Very useful in the overworld due to her sprint. She basically sprints like ice. Ayaka also deals a lot of fucking damage, and she does have access to a pretty good free-to-play weapon that you can craft in Inazuma called the Amenoma Kagoichi. Compared to other cryo DPS characters, Ayaka is probably the easiest to use. With Ganyu, you have to aim, and you also have to use a shielder with Ganyu. Ganyu is also ranged. Wriothesley has to sacrifice his HP, so you do have to constantly watch for his HP. Ayaka is generally pretty simple to use. You basically just hack away at the enemy and the enemy will die. Genshin really hasn't been that friendly with cryo characters because the Abyss typically has bosses, and cryo characters work best when they can freeze the enemies, but they can't freeze bosses. But Ayaka does deal a lot of fucking damage anyway, so even if she's not freezing the enemy, you do have like other alternatives like Mono Cryo. Kazuha Shenhe, the last slot could be a cryo healer like Diona, a shielder like Lila, or even Charlotte, another cryo healer. Ayaka just deals a lot of fucking damage, right? If you want a simple DPS character that just deals a lot of fucking damage, then Ayaka is your best bet. Her best teammates are obviously expensive. We got Shenhe, who is a cryo buffer, who is a 5-star character. There's really no other cryo buffer in the game other than Ganyu with her burst, but Ganyu is also another 5-star character. If you don't have Shenhe or Ganyu, there are other cryo alternatives like Diona. Diona is pretty good, especially if you have her with the Millilith set. Lila is also another good alternative. You also got Charlotte, who's a healer. Other alternatives for Kazuha could be Sucrose with Dragon Slayer. Last slot is normally a Hydro character like Kokomi, but you can also just run Barbara instead, or maybe even Xingqiu. Overall, Ayaka is an excellent DPS character. If you do need a new DPS character for your account, Ayaka is a pretty good pickup. The weapon banner for Navia and Ayaka is going to be a little awkward. Navia's best in slot weapon is a crit rate substat claymore that does utilize the crystallized reaction. And because this weapon utilizes the crystallized reaction, this weapon is basically only suitable for Navia only. No other character can really make use out of Navia's best in slot, since nobody else uses the crystallized reaction. Mist Splitter is a very solid DPS weapon. It has the crit damage substat. TLDR for this weapon is you basically get an elemental damage bonus whenever you do a normal attack that's infused with an element. You cast an elemental burst, and when your energy is below 100%. Any sword character that can infuse themselves with their own element can make use out of the Mist Splitter, like Kaching and Alhaitham. Anyways, let's talk about Yoimiya next. Yoimiya is a 5-star Pyro Bow user who is once again sandwiched between Ayaka and Raiden Shogun. As a bow user, she is ranged. She's also very good at single target. Compared to other Pyro DPS characters, we got Hu Tao, who's a little bit more high risk, high reward type of playstyle, since Hu Tao deals more damage whenever her HP is very low. Hu Tao also does have some AoE capabilities, since her charge attacks can go through multiple enemies and her burst is AoE. And he specializes in Mono Pyro, who's also another bow user, so he's also ranged. However, Yoimiya doesn't really make use out of charge attacks. Linny does, however. Yoimiya instead uses her elemental skill as her main source of damage. In fact, Yoimiya's burst is kind of useless. I hardly ever use her burst. I only ever use Yoimiya's burst whenever Lila's shield breaks or when I need to dodge an enemy attack. I don't even think it's even worth mentioning Yoimiya's burst because I hardly ever use that shit. Anyways, we also got Klee, who's another Pyro main DPS who's a little bit clunky to use since she's a Catalyst Lolly character. Diluc, who is, very average Claymore Pyro standard character. Out of all the Pyro DPS characters to use, I think Yoimiya might be the easiest one to use since you basically just hit E and right click. However, since she is a bow user, she's not going to be able to stagger the enemy, so you do need to have her with a shielder. Otherwise, Yoimiya herself will get staggered. Yoimiya is a solid Pyro DPS character. She might not be the best one. However, she still can work. I've cleared Abyss with her numerous times. Like with any other sane Pyro DPS character, she does work well in Vaporize. So Yoimiya will synergize pretty well with Xingqiu or Yelan. Yoimiya does have some pretty decent free-to-play options like the slingshot. Ironically enough, you can also make use out of another weapon called Rust, which is a 4-star bow weapon. Both of these weapons utilize normal attacks, something that Yoimiya does, and they also penalize you for using charge attacks, something that Yoimiya doesn't even do to begin with. In conclusion, Yoimiya is probably one of the safest, comfiest Pyro DPS characters in the game, so if you're looking for that type of DPS playstyle, I would definitely recommend Yoimiya. Last but certainly not least, we got the Raiden Shogun, the Electro Archon, 5-star Electro Polearm user. As an Archon, she is one of the best Electro characters in the game. She is also one of the best batteries for the game. So if you do want a battery for your team, the Raiden Shogun is an excellent pickup. In my honest opinion, I think the Raiden Shogun is probably the best character that you should definitely pull for in 4.3. Not only is the Raiden Shogun a very good battery, she can also buff your burst damage. She does this with her elemental skill, which provides electro off field whenever your character does an attack, which is very useful for triggering electro related reactions. The Raiden Shogun's main source of damage is going to be coming from her burst. For one thing, her burst just deals a lot of fucking damage, like a shit ton of fucking damage, and it also provides a large chunk of energy for your party members. You can also buff the damage of her elemental burst if other party members use their burst before the Raiden Shogun, since the Raiden Shogun does collect this thing called resolve stacks, which basically buff her elemental burst damage if other party members use their elemental burst. The amount of resolve stacks she gets depends on how much energy the elemental burst of the other party members cost. So the Raiden Shogun will work best with characters that have high amount of energy cost, like 80 or 90 for Yaimiko's case. She will be pretty difficult to build since she does need a lot of ER and crit rate, crit damage. She does have access to a really good free-to-play weapon, which is called the Catch, which you can easily R5. However, it might take a long time since fishing is pretty tedious in Genshin Impact. In fact, the Catch might be one of the best free-to-play weapons in the game because it's just really that good. Anyways, you can't go wrong pulling the Raiden Shogun. This woman is outstanding. You can put her on any team since she is a battery. Very solid DPS as well, especially if you put her in National. You can also build Raiden Shogun as Hyper Bloom. You basically just put EM on her and she's good to go with Dendro. Overall, the Raiden Shogun is probably the best character to pull for in 4.3, at least in my opinion anyways. So that's going to be the end of this video. If you have any comments or concerns or questions, let me know in the comments. If you like this video, just leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. The weapon banner for Yoimiya and the Raiden Shogun is pretty good, actually. The Thundering Pulse is a really good DPS bow weapon. The passive is pretty similar to the Mist Splitter, but the normal attacks don't have to be infused with elemental attacks. You just have to use the normal attacks. And the Engulfing Lightning is a very good pole arm for characters that are going to be sub DPS characters. Anyways, that's going to be the end of this video. Let me know what you guys think. Any comments or concerns, let me know in the comment section below. If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.